bodies. Thank you, Abba, for the gift we know most intimately but fear most profoundly, our body of flesh and blood. Thank you for the experiences and desires that animate our bodily life, for our appetites and needs, and also for our vulnerabilities and sensitivities. We hold before you both the delights and the frights which our bodily nature has given us over the years. We thank you for such bodily grace as is ours in repose or in action, in form or activity. We praise you for the charm and pleasure, threat and wonder of youthful growth. We ask your companionship as we face the fears that aging brings. We crave your courage whenever disease catches us unawares, whenever we feel pain, whenever our bodies let us down. Hear us as we pray for those whose bodies are like ours in some ways, family members we resemble, people with similar gifts and aptitudes, those with similar disabilities, disorders or restrictions, those who endure the same regimes to keep them healthy. Give us a sense of unity, security and fellowship that strengthens us all and enriches each individual character. Abba, you have made us bodily. Give us bodily grace. This week our prayer journey takes us into the territory of puzzles, problems, predicaments, the sort of things that happen and cause us to scratch our heads a little bit, to think and wonder why, to wonder what, to ask ourselves questions that we don't really have the capacity to answer. One of the greatest puzzles and predicaments of all is when we see unjust and undeserved suffering, when we know it in ourselves or when we see it in someone whose suffering we identify with a lot, whom we really care for. This particular puzzle causes us to ask why. Why should it happen? Why can God allow such a thing? I've come to think that this isn't really a question, it's more of a protest. The punctuation mark isn't a question mark here, it's not why question mark, it's why exclamation mark. It's a kind of protest saying, no, this isn't as it should be. It's really hugely important, I think, to bring that stuff, that sense of puzzle and predicament into our prayer life. Because prayer, when we remember the presence of God, is the strongest and most robust way of expanding our heart to be able to cope with some of this stuff. I sometimes think that when we pray a puzzle or a problem, it's like trying to get out of a cul-de-sac when you've come up against a brick wall and the lights have gone out. Do we continue to pray? Well, yes, of course. Much prayer happens in exactly that kind of place, when, as if it's the only thing left to do. Doesn't solve the problem, doesn't resolve the predicament. What it does is allows us to grow inside, to grow spiritually, for our soul to enlarge a little bit, that we can begin to reconcile with the way things are, reconcile with reality. And oddly, strangely, peacefully, that begins to change things. Often this change begins with us, but it then goes out beyond. There are huge unanswered questions, always, in all kinds of life, but particularly in the life of faith. Perhaps the greatest of all is, how can it be that God should have such love for us, that he would come and live a life which shared exactly in all these problems and predicaments? How is it that God could come and be human and suffer exactly like we do, and know what it is to live with unanswerable questions? That's a big issue, certainly worth our prayer time.